Okay, blessings booktube. Today we're doing a tier list video. These are the Nobel laureates in Spanish language, about half and half Spain and Latin America. I've got them in alpha order here. On the bottom, you can see there are 11. The first is Ambito by Alexandre and Vicente Alexandre. And I'm going to put these in the tiers of estupendo, stupendous obviously, asombroso is of course astounding, buenísimo, very good, oops, misspelled, complicado, it's complicated, and D is difícil de encontrar, hard to, also misspelled, hard to find. Okay, so I'll put these in their places first with brief commentary, and then I'll go through each, and then stick around for some extra commentary that you'll enjoy, including favorites, what I've read, not read, best works to start with for each of these, things like that. So I'll start with Vicente Ambito. Here is one of his poetry collections. Alexandre won the Nobel Prize from Spain in 1977. And I'm going to put him right in the middle. We'll start there with he'll be the benchmark, right? Now we have one of my favorites here, which is the Guatemalan laureate from Guatemala, Asturias, his name is, Miguel Angel Asturias. He wrote Legends of Guatemala, a bunch of, well, I'll tell you later. This is Men of Corn, Men of Maíz. Men of Maíz is going to be stupendous. Okay, we're off to a great start here. My next is Gran Galateo, which is probably the masterpiece. It's a comedy by Benavente. He is a Spanish winner. He won in 22. Oh, and in case I didn't mention it, Asturias, the Guatemalan winner, won in 67. So of the dramatists, I like both very much. I'm going to say stupendous for Asturias, for Benavente. Now we have Cela, a Spanish winner from 89. This is the family of Pascal Duarte. It's sort of one of these like The Stranger, where a guy commits a bunch of crimes. You're not really sure why. Very interesting. And we're going to put that in buenísimo. In fact, now I'm looking at this. I want to move. No, we'll leave that. Okay. So now, now we've got Gran Galateo, which means that our Benavente was, who did I pick from Benavente? Intereses Criados. Is his masterwork, but this is actually La Malquerida, the unloved lady. All right, now we got Gran Galateo, excuse me. Now, Gran Galateo, that is by Echegaray. He won in 1904, so he's our very early winner. And for that reason, unfortunately, he goes, no, actually is he complicado? No, you can find a lot of his stuff. He's definitely estupendo. I was trying to see if you could find much of his work translated. Some of these early winners, it's hard to find their works. So now we have, looks like Gabriel Garcia Marquez, GGM. This one I chose, what did I choose? The Colonel doesn't have anyone to write to him? No. General in his Labyrinth, was it? Yeah, General in his Labyrinth, I want to say. So now that, not to be confused with Paz's famous work, Labyrinth work, or indeed Borges' short story book of Labyrinths. Oh, Labyrinths is popular in Mesoamerican writing. Okay, so this is Gabriel Garcia Marquez. He's our winner from Colombia, of course, and he won in 82. Estupendo. All right. Plátano y yo. This is Jimenez. He's also a poet. Um, he is the one whose poetry is very, very hard to find. But everybody loves Plátano y yo, the story of a donkey. Um, Spanish learners, native speakers grow up reading this. Spanish learners read this. It is wonderful work, very touching. If you've ever seen like Oazad Baltazar, that movie by, what's his name there? I want to say Poussin. You can see how touching a donkey story can be. That's like this as well, with maybe a little more humor. Okay, so now this brings us to Yosa, who I just did a video for. This is the Feast of the Goat. Yosa is, he's a little inconsistent, I would say, is the only thing. So we're going to put him in stupendous. I can't remember who I wanted to say was complicated, but we'll get to the hard to find eventually, I hope. Gabriela Mistral from Chile, two poets from Chile. She won in where are you, Mistral? 45. So a while ago now. And this is her Rondas. She is stupendous. These are Nobel winners, folks. I'm not going to apologize for having them this tier be very, very top heavy. Now, Neruda, I like Neruda, fine, and some of his stuff I love, but I don't think I love him as much as some. So I'm going to put him sort of in the middle. Neruda wrote the 20 love poems and a song of desolation, whatever. Despair, I guess would be in English. So is this the one that's hard to find? I hope so, otherwise I messed up. No, this is not. Paz. Paz is as a poet, I would say I would put him middling, but because of his criticism, which I really love, I'm going to put him up in stupendous. And what we're going to do is we're going to move Plátano y yo down to difficult to find, only because Plátano y yo is easy to find, but his poetry, very difficult to find. He's only got the Andalusian elegies. And the other one that was hard to find, let's see if I can find that one as well. Was it one of the playwrights then? Well, perhaps we'll get to that when we go through in more detail about these people. So let's start with Asturias, Men of Maíz. He wrote Legends of Guatemala. He wrote El Presidente is probably his most well-known work. He wrote La Mulata as well. The Mirror of Lida Sal, which is folkloric work again. Torotumbo is one of his titles, The Green Pope. He's a pretty prolific writer, a lot of variety, and all of it's really good. I haven't read as much as I would have liked. I've read the Legends and Men of Maíz, maybe one more. And that's pretty much all I have to say about Asturias. I mistakenly said recently in a Nobel video of mine that the Central America had not had a Nobel winner, and shame on me because they have, and he's a wonderful representative. Though we need Hondurans and Nicaraguans and Costa Ricans and Panamanians and whoever I'm forgetting, Belizeans. Okay, do I want to say anything more about Asturias? If you like folklore, this is, I would say, he's a way to go. Him and, of course, Gabriel Garcia Marquez as sort of creating folklore. Who else will give you some of that feel? Maybe Mistral as well in some of her poetry. Now, Gran Galateo. So Gran Galateo, this is, I got it wrong before, Echegaray, sorry. Echegaray, one of the early playwrights, '04. He's got Mariana, which I've read, Son of Don Juan. What else has he got? Del Melchor and the Magi. We've got Puño Espada. How would I translate that? A punch in the back? Or no, a punch, espada, sword. We've got something in stillness. What was it? Folly or stillness? I've not read that one. Mala Raza, Loco Divino, Crazy Divine. First Rain, Duda, which would be doubt. Always ridiculous. So a lot of comedy. You just can't, a great laugh, quick reads, and being plays. I think when I did my other early Nobel tier lists, I think I probably had him also up here for similar reasons. And then Gabriel Garcia Marquez wrote so much. I've read, I think, almost all of it except the nonfiction I'm not as interested in. He wrote the News of a Kidnapping, I want to say. So he wrote Gringo, he wrote The Melancholy Horse, he wrote, of course, his famous Love in Time of Cholera and 100 Years Solitude. He wrote News of a Death Foretold. And then he writes about these patriarchs, right? No One Writes to the Colonel, General in His Labyrinth, which we have here, and then the Autumn of the Patriarch, which is about, I think that's the one that's about the independence leader for South America, Bolivar, who wanted to create a pan-America and saw it, break up. Kind of the way poor Gandhi had to watch India divided. Okay, so the last up in Estupendo would be Gabriela Mistral. Yeah, of the poets, she's my favorite. I have a video of her. Also have a video of, who else do I have? Do I have an Asturias? I don't think so. I've got a Paz video up there, and another one of the poets I feel like I have, a Neruda. And I have Llosa, Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Do I have any other of the novelists? Gabriela Mistral, she was a leading, pioneering educator for her country as well. If you're complaining that Chile has two laureates, whereas Argentina has none, I just remind you that she's amazing, female representation. She wrote a lot, and you can find a lot of her work is translated. She wrote Desolation, is her most famous one. Doris, The Vida Mia, My Life. Ecstasis, Ternura would be tenderness. Ecstasis, ecstasy. All of her poetry is great. Check her out. Okay, Stupendous. So this was the one I mislabeled, right? So this would be, it's not, I'm going to tell you. So this is, because you can't really read them super well, sorry about that. So this must be the, where is the other playwright? Alexandra. So this must be, no, Abito is over here. That's Alexandra. So this must be, who are you? We'll come back to you. Llosa. Llosa wrote so much. I just did a video on his War at the End of the World. He wrote Feast of the Goat, Time of Heroes. He wrote Cachorros is a good place to start with him. It's a shorter work. Some of his work's quite long, I would say. Fair to say. Next is Sunstone, right? That's Paz. Octavio Paz's most famous work is Labyrinth of Solitude. He wrote Words in a Spiral, Alternative Current. And then he wrote a lot of really great conjunction, disjunction, grammatical monkey. And he wrote some just really great criticism. He wrote one on Sorwana, on poetry, poets and others, poetry and the revolution, poets and the revolution. So for his criticism, I would rank him higher. For his criticism, estupendous. For his poetry, buenísimo. It's good, and some of it's great, but, you know, we're judging greatness against greatness. You know how that goes. So we'll come back to, what if only I could read it. What must you be? Okay, we'll go down to Ambito now. So this is our first buenísimo. This is Alexandre. I know he's got a Catalan-sounding name, but he writes in Castilian. He wrote Birds of Paper. He wrote, he's a poet, again, of consummation, poems of consummation. Espadas con labios would be swords with lips. Sombra de Paradise, Shadow of Paradise, History of the Heart. Passion, of the Tierra, Passion of the Earth. Ambito, as you see here. Dialogues of conocimiento, like knowledge. He's a sort of he's the one that goes down the bottom. Yes. He is wonderful, but you can only find one of his works in English translation, and that is from Copper Canyon, and it's called Longing for Light. He was a surrealist poet, I would say, melancholy, he was bisexual. Just for the reason that he's hard to find is that he's at the bottom. So we'll pull Plato and Yo back up to astounding then. All right, so what else can I say about the Plato and Yo? Jimenez's poetry is a little bit more art for art's sake, I would say. Yeah. So this one here must be Benavente. So Benavente gave us Intereses Creados, the Malquerida. Yeah, that's Malquerida here, right? That's it. Or Mrs. Ama, Senora Ama. Cartas de Mujeres, women's letters, Nido Ajeno, other nests, strange nests, windows of husbands, a widow with husband, the prince who learned everything from books, another just great dramatist. I think he must be the complicated. His stuff is a little bit hard to find in translation. You can find it in Spanish. So that's why he's down there. Okay. Then Sela. So his most famous work, I would say, is Colema. I always mispronounce that. Bee's nest. Bees, what do we call those? Hive. The beehive. And he also, which was made into a Criterion-winning film as well. It's quite excellent. He's a sort of, he was cited for his vulnerability by the Nobel Prize givers. He's sort of a grotesque realism, I would say. He wrote The Pavilion of Rest. He wrote experimental stuff later on, like Christ versus Arizona, which is like a 100-page, one-sentence thing. He wrote Mazurka for Two Dead Men as well. San Camilo, 1939. The Cross of Santo Andre, Journey to Arcadia. He wrote a lot of different stuff. Oficios Tiemblos, a lot of variety. Modera de Boj, Wood of Boj. Rosa, Notes of a Vagabond. That's the one I want to find. Asesinato del Perdedor. The Murder of the Loser. And one I read that I just randomly found down in Honduras, where you do not find books, in a cafe in a tiny village, I found the 11 cuentos de fútbol, 11 stories of football. It's very appropriate to the World Cup going on right now. So that is Selah. Next is What's the Big Heart? That's Neruda, right? Which I think we already discussed. No. 20 poems of Song of Despair, Residence in the Earth, Captains versus Ode of Common Things, Canto General, Extravagaria, Book of Questions. There's a great movie about him called Il Postino, Italian movie, art film from 80s, about him, his relationship with his politics and with his postman. Okay, so down, this is, somehow we skipped Echegare. Where is Echegare? Echegare, Mariana, Don Juan. Oh no, we did. I just didn't cross it out. So Benavente, that his plays are more satirical, would be the way to compare the two comedian plays. Yosa, I feel like I didn't discuss. Where's Yosa? Yosa. Yeah. I mentioned his time in of the Hero and City of Dogs. He also wrote Conversation in the Cathedral, Aunt Julia and the Scriptwriter, Tia Julia. Very famous for Death in the Andes. About was it the football team that crashed up there and may or may not have eaten each other. I don't know. He wrote Pantaleon. I think I read that one. And The Visitors. What's this other one? Sueña del Celto, Dream of a Celt, which I'd like to read. And that's it. So you can see a couple generalities. You could see Spain obviously big on playwrights. This is coming from the Siglo de Oro, the golden century. You had De Vega, right, with Fuente Ovejuna. You had De Alcaron, Vida Sospechosa, Calderón, Life is a Dream. You have the Burlador de Sevilla from De Molina. Who else? And then the Three-Corner Hat from De Moratin. And then, Unamuno, your generation of 98 people. And, Garcia Lorca, right, with Yerma, Blood of Wedding, House of Bernarda Alma. So, from the generation of 98 to the first Spanish laureate in 04, you can see that's only 6 years. So the dramatic has been somewhere where Spain has been traditionally well respected and honored. You can see, obviously, some South American poetry with the two Chileans, also all the way up to the poetry with in Mexico. Pause. What else can you say about the Spanish Nobel laureates generally? A lot of variety, passion, politics, love. Yeah, read them. I don't know what more to tell you. If this doesn't make you want to read them, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. I know some of it's a little bit old and some people are scared of that, but you're going to be fine. They're plays, they're short, they're funny, they're poems. If you don't like one, just skip to the next. Even Paz's criticism is pretty readable. Shorter essays, one on, how Mexicans are fucked, excuse my language. So fun stuff like that. And obviously, what I haven't mentioned at all, because it's the only thing that people think about with the Spanish winners and then the magical realism. But you'll notice that a lot of the magical realism from Argentina, for example, is left out. And I'm not sure if Borges was alive in time to have possibly been considered for the Nobel, or if he was. But they don't tend to give They have a couple times, but they don't tend to give the Nobel Prize to too many short story writers. Although he's the short story writer, right? So, all right. Well, I hope you're impressed that I finally figured out how to shift Window S and record my screen. I guess I knew you could do that fairly easy, but I didn't know you could also have the voice recording. Now I have to go and find out if all of this hard work is going to be able to be downloaded to the YouTube, or if the format that this spits out is not welcome by YouTube, in which case I'm going to cry and you'll never see it anyway. Okay, bueno, gracias, muchísimas. Hasta luego. Que leen muy bien estas obras. Please read these wonderful works. Thank you.